Welcome to Hot Takes with Jim Baker, presented by Sumis Development Group. Each week, we sit down with entrepreneurs, executives, investors, and experienced business leaders to discuss the challenges, opportunities, and decisions shaping today's business world. From leadership and culture to sales, growth, acquisitions, and value creation, you'll hear practical insights from people who have been there and done it. So grab a notebook, settle in, and let's get started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Wisdom Series, sponsored by Sumis Advisory Group. As you know, we made a little bit of a transition away from 50 Cups to Sumis, and we will continue with Wisdom, also our Hot Takes, and our new business channel as well. Today, though, we are honored to have a special guest, a good friend of mine, George Besse from Ridgefield, Connecticut. He's 84 years old and is still extremely busy in life.
Absolutely.
And I thought it'd be good to have you on the podcast today. So thanks for being here.
Well, thank you.
How's everything going?
Everything's going very well. Life is good. As you know, I grew up in Ridgefield for 84 years. I did spend 4 years away when I was serving my country in the Air Force during the Vietnam era. But growing up in Ridgefield is a great place to grow up. A lot has changed, as you noticed anyway. But growing up in Ridgefield was super. We didn't, back in my age, we didn't have all the amenities you have today. So when school was out, you had to find something to do for the summer. And usually that's going out playing with your neighborhood boys, picking up a game here and there. But interesting enough, you couldn't go out until your bed was made and your room was clean. Then you could go out, get on your bike, ride over to Jack's house and say, "Oh, Miss O'Keefe, can Jack come out?" He said, "Don't worry, he'll be out in about 10 minutes, which means he hasn't made his bed yet." But it was great. You look for things to do. You play baseball, you get a pickup game, go in the woods, catch frogs. So we entertained ourselves.
And now the year you graduated high school was what year?
1960.
And how big was your class back then?
60.
60 people?
Yes.
And now it's what, 500 a class?
Last year's graduating class was 430.
Okay. And you played baseball too, right?
I played baseball. I played the catcher and I was outfielder, mostly a catcher.
And then from your family perspective, I know you had a mom, dad for a while, and you had sisters, correct?
Yep. I grew up with 4 sisters and no brothers. So when I got married and had 3 daughters, I knew all their tricks because I seen my sisters try it. So,
and where were you in the pecking order? You in the middle, the end?
No, I was the second.
Okay.
I had 1 older sister and 3 younger.
And then when you were in high school, do you know what you want to do at that point in time? Are you thinking, hey, I'm going to go into the military when I get out? Or are you thinking a career?
In high school, just had to get through high school. And when I got out, my father was a carpenter, didn't have a lot of money, so couldn't go to college. So I was working at a gas station and going to school nights. And I decided, because at one point I thought I wanted to be an air traffic controller. I want to get something to do with the airline industry. And with don't forget, at 18, I had a draft card in my back pocket. The Cuban crisis was starting to cook up, and I knew things were going to change quickly. Didn't want to go into the Navy. I don't swim that well. Didn't want to go in the Army. And I looked at the Air Force had the best opportunities to go serve my country and come out with some kind of a career, which actually that's what happened. Mm-hmm. I went in thinking I was going to become an air traffic controller. That's what the recruiter tells you. But then, boom, once you get in, you sign a contract for 4 years, and it's their wish, it's not yours. Actually, I was considered to be it, but I had astigmatism in an eye. So the guy said, "No, that's it. You're not going to be that. I'm going to make you a medic." Oh, I almost jumped across the table at him.
So did you, when they're testing you, do you have some type of medical aptitude, or why would they?
Oh, yeah, you go physical, they call it your physical profile. And he goes, let me look at your physical profile. And I say, okay, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. Uh-oh, that's it.
But why medic? Like, why not a mechanic or something else? Is that just where they need you?
Just what they wanted me.
Okay. So then you go to a little bit of like nursing school or something like that? How do they train you to be a medic?
I went through a lot of training. You go through a pre-med training, and then you can wait for orders, and you find out where you're going to go. After the pre-med, then I was sent down to Montgomery, Alabama, because I was chosen to become a radiology school, x-ray school. And that has set me up for the rest of my life, which was actually a good thing because I've always been a people person. So I liked working with people. So.
And then where were you stationed?
Well, I went from basic training was in Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. And to go to tech school, I went to Montgomery, Alabama. And from Montgomery, Alabama, once you completed that course, you get your orders, and my orders were to go to Amarillo, Texas.
So you had never been out of Ridgefield for the most part, right? You've been in New York and some other surrounding areas, but you never. So what was it like going down south for the first time?
Well, it was unbelievable, because when I got down to Montgomery, Alabama, the civil rights has not been passed yet. So it was a deeply segregated city. And for this old Yankee, it was an eye-opening experience, to say the least. I mean, they still had signs, white, black here, this fountain there. When you walked on the sidewalk in Montgomery, if a black person was coming in, they'd step off and walk on the road. This is crazy.
And were you, in your class, were there more Yankees there, or were you kind of a fish out of water down there yourself?
No, my roommate was from Holyoke Path, South Carolina. He was a good guy. But when I got transferred to go up to Amarillo, two of us went up there, and he was from Jamestown, New York. So it was a mix. I mean, you got a chance to learn about the whole country and different cultures, different habits, different expressions. But my roommate was Frank Hawkins. Now, growing up down in Carolina, what he did for a night for entertainment was go out and grab water moccasins and snap their heads. I said, okay, not me, buddy. So.
And then during the day when you're in Texas, Amarillo, are you in a clinic and you're just taking the x-rays? Like what's...
No, I was assigned to the 3320th United States Air Force Hospital Squadron. Everything, you had squadrons. So I was in a hospital squadron. I was assigned to a hospital. And essentially I was working like you would in a regular hospital. Work of 8 to 5. Every 6 days, I had to pull 24-hour duty for cellular coverage. But one thing about being in a hospital, you wore hospital whites, and you can tell anybody whatever you told them, that they would do it. And it really didn't make a difference what their rank was, whether they were private or all the way up to general.
Sounds like a pretty good job.
It was. Yeah, the number one hospital had the best food on base. We had very nice barracks. So that's how I served my time.
So during that time too, do you have a girlfriend back home?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, who's now your wife. And
my wife.
So what was it like being separated? And didn't you eventually get married? Then she moved to Texas with you?
She was actually my high school sweetheart. And we do this. Well, I do towards Veterans Day. We go into the high school classroom and we talk about, we conduct classes. In one class, this girl asked me, said, well, when you're away, how'd you stay in touch? Because I told her, Christmas time, you're standing in line in a phone booth for 2 hours waiting to call home. Well, how'd you stay in touch? I said, well, we wrote letters the old-fashioned way. And that's what we did. Every Sunday afternoon, I would write a letter, and I'd get a letter from Dawn. Now, Dawn's my high school sweetheart, and we've been married 62 years. So
And
I came home, got married. We drove back to Amarillo for a year and so. And my firstborn daughter, Debbie, was born in my hospital. And she was the cheapest one of all because it only cost $5 because I had to pay for Dawn's rations while she was in the hospital. Everything else was covered.
Wow,
So,
that's a pretty good deal.
yeah, it was a great deal. So
And so how long were you in the Air Force?
4 years.
4 years. And then you decided to get out.
Yep, we got out and came back.
And are you employed at this point in time, or you
Oh, no.
go back and you now start looking for work?
Now, while I was in, X-ray techs weren't making a lot of money, and so I thought I'd go into become an industrial radiologist. So I actually took a course at Louisiana State University, 2-week course on how to handle isotopes and industrial radiography. And while I was there, there's a fellow whose company sent him there. He was from Danbury, Sperry Products, and they're involved in non-destructive testing, which means, test anything non-destructively through X-rays or ultrasound or whatever. So he was so impressed that I had financed my own. Everybody down there corporate was paid. He goes, well, when you come back, when you get out, come see me in Danbury. I came back and interviewed for a few places, and I went to see him and I got a job in Danbury working for a non-destructive testing lab.
And Danbury is a town right next to Ridgefield.
Exactly.
So you had a very easy commute.
That was a good commute.
And what were you doing then with this job?
I was a test. I worked in the application lab where potential customers would send a product in, especially if it has welds on it or they wanted to check the integrity out without destroying it. So because I'm the only one who knew X-ray, I did all the X-ray applications, learned ultrasound and other test methods, but we tested all the blades, the fan blades for aircraft engines.
Okay.
And material like that. So make sure there's no what they call porosity or holes in it. Steering gears. I've been up to Saginaw, Michigan, because they had, when they extrude metal, sometimes they extrude it too fast. It'll get separated in the center. You won't see it. But it's what they call like chevrons. And it goes in the car. That could snap and you lose control. So that was very interesting. Now, how I got back into medical X-ray was we had at that company, we had a management training program, and there was one fellow was working in the application lab with me, and one night we were washing our hands. He goes, "Geez, this recruiter called me. It was some X-ray company. And I don't know anything about X-ray. I don't want to take the interview." I said, "You don't?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, give me the guy's name." So I called him up. I met the marketing manager in Norwalk on a Saturday afternoon and had a job with a major X-ray company, Philips Medical Systems. And that was all diagnostic imaging. So they did standard X-ray, they did MRIs, we had CAT scanners. And the job was actually on 42nd Street, only temporarily because they were building the plant in Shelton, Connecticut. So that's how I got back into medical X-ray.
And then how did you get into human resources?
Well, I was doing some administrative stuff, and when they finally moved to Shelton, they had actually a factory, and we had to have company picnics and all that. And so I got involved doing that, and they needed a good HR guy. They said, "Man, you're very good with people. How would you like to do it?" So I took that job. Been doing that ever since.
Yeah. And then obviously, as time goes by, you then are representing the company, negotiating with the unions.
Yeah. Well, I had a few times. I was actually employee relations manager, and then because our factory workers got organized, we had to deal with the union, and we were also, our servicemen in New York City was organized by Local 3, IBW Local 3. So after a while, I got on the negotiating team, and taking a couple of strikes, but which is not fun.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been, was that something that was exciting for you to be able to negotiate?
Oh, yeah, it's very exciting. The process itself is a lot of maneuvering, a lot of negotiations, and you know what your bottom line is and what you can afford to do, and you just have to keep working to get them to accept it. I mean, if you don't accept it, you're going to take a strike.
Yeah.
And everybody loses in the strike.
So from a just a pure negotiating standpoint, back then, did you always start out knowing it'd be a 3 or 4 week process? So we'll start out offering very little, and then we'll continue to move up based on what they're giving back, and then eventually you meet, but it's a game on both sides?
Yeah, everybody knows it's a game. Like how I was broken in. My boss goes, "Okay, you're going to make the first offer." And I have to offer them like a nickel an hour. Then you see the eyes coming over across the table. He set me up. So, but it takes a few weeks. You always have deadlines. You get to the deadline, and this is final and best. Pockets are empty. Pull that. That's it. Go back and sell it to your membership.
Yeah, I always wonder why you couldn't, and I understand why, but it'd be great if you could do like a 25-year term where there's escalations, each year, but it always seemed like the agreements were, 5 years on average?
Yeah, usually these are 3.
Okay.
The 3-year agreement. And they're always, throw you the cost of living index, and they always want more in their benefits, more in their pensions, and those things cost. And that's where the big fights usually are.
So you're doing this time now. Do you have all 3 kids at this point, or?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So Lisa and Diane are born. And
Lisa and Diane were born here in Danbury. So we drove back from Amarillo with Debbie in the back of our car. Had a little setup for her. It was great. Now today, you can't have a kid. You got to have him in some kind of spacesuit, strapped in the back seat.
Yeah, that's true. I know that feeling.
So,
so how many years were you at Phillips?
21 years.
And did they have? I know that back then it was a little bit of a competitive environment, and a lot of these companies were offshoring, being sold. So were you offered an early retirement at that point in time? Like, what happened?
No, at one point in time, we were doing what we call downsizing. And I downsized a lot of people. Then I got downsized. So after that, I went into, started my own recruiting business. And it wasn't bad. It was tough because I had a lot of connections throughout the whole industry, and made some very good placements. But all of a sudden, I got another offer that was more attractive, and there's a little company called ASG. So,
that role is in HR because ASG at the time, my company,
was small.
We were small. We had no human resource leadership whatsoever, and we were big enough where we had to have somebody come in and help organize things. So you went from this big company to you being on your own for a brief period of time and then come into this wild west small company. So what was that like?
Well, it's good. I thought I could, bring a lot to the table. It was a little bit of Wild West stuff. There's some crazy things happening there, but all in all the people there were all had the same goal. They all wanted to succeed and work hard. So, I mean, it was a great experience for me.
The most valuable lessons in business rarely come from a seminar, a book, or a lecture. They come from experience. At Sumis Development Group, we believe some of the greatest business wisdom comes from leaders who have spent decades building companies, navigating challenges, and learning from both success and failure. Through executive coaching, strategic advisory services, and leadership development, we help business leaders apply those lessons to today's opportunities and challenges. Because wisdom is only valuable when it's shared. Learn more at sumis-inc.com.
I'm sure you had a couple people that thought they knew more than you did in reference to people and human resources in general. And what kind of techniques, how did you get them to listen to you?
Well, firstly, you listen to them. That's the key. A lot of people don't listen. And you just listen to them and you kind of weigh out what they're saying, and then you know how to maneuver around them and convince them, to do the right thing. So.
How do you convince them, though?
Oh, being a nice guy. Yeah, it's just going over the facts, figures, everything. It's not too hard. Mm-hmm. I used to, being a nice guy, I call it transition people out of the company or fire them. If you ever had to get fired, you'd want me to do it. So, as a matter of fact, I had a reputation in Phillips. I was out doing a tour explaining benefits, all our offices. We had 26 branch offices. So, I met with the administrator. She was in Huntsville, Alabama. And we'll meet for dinner. And, she goes, George, word is on the street that you're not the man to have dinner with. So I said, don't worry, you're fine.
Well, I think at ASG, if you were calling somebody into a meeting or you were paying a visit to their home, then you weren't Santa Claus at that point in time.
No.
So people knew. So then how do you overcome that? Do you just admit when you see somebody like, well, you know why I'm here, so let's just talk and we can make it easy?
Yeah, that's all I do. I said, well, I'll ask them, how do you think things are going? And they'll tell me, oh, this. I said, then maybe you'll understand our point of view that we have to do this. And you can't just walk in and bang them. But
right.
Usually I'll start off, how are things going for you? You know this happened. You recognize that. Do you recognize this? Yeah, I do. I said, okay. And here's a piece of paper. So you try to do it as gently as possible.
Yeah.
And get them to understand, I tell them, I don't make the record. You made it. So let's talk about that.
And I think some people, especially in smaller companies that are, let's say, they're owned by the CEO, they want to hire people that are similar to their way of thinking and their work ethic. But I think if that was the case, a lot of people then would be them. They would own their own companies. They would be doing what they're doing. But in reality, there are people that want to run businesses, and there are people that just like being employees. And therefore, if you're an employee, you can be a great employee, but you're just going to do things differently. So, but I think a hard part for the CEO and the owner is to let people go because they quote unquote feel bad. They feel like they let them down. And I remember you teaching me that if the business can do everything in its power to make that person successful, and at the end of the day, that person just simply isn't grasping it, or for some reason they're on the wrong team. Maybe they're better off being on the New England Patriots than the New York Giants. So, if you think that way, then you're not going to, as long as you provided them the opportunity, you're not going to feel guilty when you have to let them go. So obviously you had a lot of experience letting multiple people go during the years. And I'm sure at night when you're brushing your teeth, you're probably thinking about, some of those experiences, not now, but way back then. Is there certain things that you just felt comfortable with that you needed to do every time you let somebody go to know that you treated them fairly and you didn't feel bad about it?
Oh, yeah. I've had some painful transitions, especially when in a union environment where it comes down to seniority. And I actually had this fellow who was worked in the warehouse, older guy. He hadn't been there that long. He didn't have a lot of seniority, and they had to do a cutback. And he actually was pleading with me not to let him go. He was on his hands and knees from my desk. That was tough. But, it's a contract. There's nothing I can do for the guy. And those are the tough ones like that. But if I also had somewhere, I've only had one person try to come across the desk, and it was a lady. Really? Yeah.
Well, she was defending herself, I guess, and she didn't want to take no for.
She got caught doing something in the warehouse during break that was inappropriate, and of course it brought it to my attention, and there's nothing you do. Everybody said, "Don't talk to HR. As you talk to me, you tell me something, I'm going to have to act." So we had a terminator, and she didn't like it. So, I mean, even in the tough times when we had a lot of drugs and things going on in the company, and I had to terminate people, I actually had a clipboard, which was actually bulletproof.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just pull that on your chest or something?
No, you have it right in front of you. They pull the gun out, you put it up there. Just those are the Wild West days.
Wow. Yeah, it's combat pay right there.
Oh yeah, I probably should tell you. We had a small dental division down in Stanford. It was really a jungle. We had to put a undercover guy in there to find out what's going on. And this guy wasn't doing dope. He had a guy, the machinist, he was making the silencers. He's from the Bronx. I had two Colombians were in the shipping department. They were bringing drugs in.
Wow.
It was messing. And the foreman was a big Irishman, and he was tough. If he came in late, he'd take your time card out, put it on his desk. So you had to go in and get your time card from him. And so he did that one day, and this one guy must have been out late, came in late, and he had enough. He wanted the car, tried to shoot him. Yeah, they had a shooting down there. So they sent me down. So, well, it was funny. The president of the company, after he said, this undercover guy's cost a lot of money, is you got to go shut this thing down. So I leave the office and he tells my boss, "Geez, I hope he doesn't get shot." So that's something Dawn didn't know. So.
Yeah. Wow. That's a crazy story. So you ended up shutting it down?
No, I went down to that day, fired 12 people.
And it cleaned up after that?
Yeah, we cleaned it up.
That's good. That's good. So you finish up with ASG and now you're retired.
Right.
And what year was that?
Oh, geez. When did we decide to do that?
Like 2009, 2010, something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And then you started your next career.
My next career
So tell us about that.
Oh, you mean becoming the commander for the American Legion Post?
Yeah.
In Ridgefield? Yeah, I've been doing that for 17 years. Got one more year to go. I mean, the American Legion is what we call a veteran service organization, and it's a very needy organization because what we're there to help protect the Constitution, promote Americanism, and be there for a mutual health finish of other veterans. So when I started, the only couple of programs they had in place was the Memorial Day Parade. They organized it, ran it in a Veterans Day ceremony. I took over. I went to my first meeting with the state. Was they said everybody thinks of our organization as a bunch of veterans standing around a bar swapping war stories. You need to get involved in the community. You need to get out and be known that what we actually do. And our motto is veterans still serving America. So I got my marching orders from that first meeting, and I've been running the program for 17 years. I started doing military honors, which was something that was needed. The first one we did was for one of our Legionnaires, Frank Montanari.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we said he died. So we said, well, we got a bugle, we got rifles. We'll just go over there. And we did, and there was a couple Army guys. They looked at, where are you guys from? That's about a block and a half away. He said, we didn't know you had anybody on this side of the state that does this. I said, would you guys be interested? So we brought it before the membership. Everybody agreed to it. And they all agreed to, turn the money, whatever we get paid from the state, they turned it into the post. Now, the posts, we're self-funded, so, I mean, we were low on funds. So that has become our major revenue stream. And we do quite a few a year.
So for those that might be watching this, they might not understand what military honors is. So Can you explain that?
Yep. Military honors is an old battlefield tradition back from the Civil War. When in the Civil War, they were fighting very close quarters, and the battlefield would get so loaded with, all the dead bodies and wounded. They actually called a ceasefire, and at the ceasefire, they would clear the battlefield. Once the battlefield has been cleared, they would fire 3 volleys, notifying that the other side that the battlefield is clear. So when we fire 3 volleys at a funeral, it means that the person we're honoring, that their battlefield, they're cleared all the battlefields in life. And then they play the taps. Now taps was played by a bugle. In the Civil War, the bugler was the main source of information. He was like their PA system. In the morning, he played reveille, everybody get up. Then you play Call the Colors for everybody to fall out to the parade field. And then in battle, you play Charge, or you played Retreat. And at night in camp, he played another tune called Lights Out. So this General Butterfield one day lost 600 men in one battle. And he somehow wanted to honor them. So he got together with his bugler, and they took the tune Lights Out, and they modified it to what is taps today, which is a very solemn tune. So we honor them, they clear their battlefield, and obviously the lights out, they're gone. So it's a very moving ceremony. And you'll see when you start playing taps, you'll see people get emotional, or within the grieving family. So, and for
then
us,
how many Legionnaires do you bring for this? Is it 3 or 4?
now we bring 3 riflemen,
Okay.
and what I call a detail captain, and the detail captain will play taps if whatever branch of the service doesn't provide somebody to do that. So.
And do the branches always show up also, or are they outsourced it to you, to your post?
Oh, no. What do you mean the branches?
Okay.
No, everything we do is by orders from the Connecticut Army National Guard. They give us orders. We usually we're supposed to get a 48-hour notice. It's more like 40 or 36. Then you have to put a detail together. People, and we have our own territory. I mean, we will go from Ridgefield all the way up to Southbury or New Fairfield. We'll go out to Trumbull and down to Norwalk, and that's our territory. There are 10 other VSOs, or service organizations, that cover the rest of the state.
And then you present the folded flag to the family at the end.
If I have to, yeah. We're prepared to do that. Usually, you'll get 2 people from 2, maybe sometimes 3 from whatever branch of the service they were in, and they would either, they would fold and present the flag. In their absence, we're prepared to do that.
Okay.
So we have a complete ceremony, and our whole goal in doing it, and we're very serious about it, is that we create the best memory we can for the family in the final salute to the loved one.
And how many funerals a year does your post do right now, on average?
Yeah, we average 145 to 150. The most we ever done in one year was 172. So and it tracks pretty well, based on our territory. As they tell us at headquarters, that we're on the quiet side of the state. Like last year, statewide, there was 2,644 military funerals. So
wow.
Yeah,
it's a lot of funerals.
A lot of funerals.
So I'm going to give you a lot of credit, because I think before you got to the American Legion, and it was not as influential. You weren't doing as much. And 17 years later, I think it's probably one of the best run, what I'll call nonprofits in the town.
It's really nonprofit.
And what's your secret to success? How did you get that thing going? And how did you get people? How did you lead those people so they would believe?
Well, number one, you have to be a veteran. Be anything. One thing is being active in the community. These guys that join us want to do more than just have a beer and tell a story. I have members from Brewster, New Fairfield, Bethel, because they said, we searched around and you guys do an awful lot, and they want to be active. And what they can do, we have so many programs. Other than doing the parade, the Veterans Day program, we put vets in the classroom, which is very good. We had 2 veterans will go into the junior high school class, social studies class, and conduct each period during the day. So, and the school wants us to do that. They invite us to do that. That's a good program. We visit, veterans say we'll go and visit down at Laurel Ridge, which is a healthcare facility, and we meet with all the veterans there. And one year, believe it or not, I met the wife of the meteorologist who told General Eisenhower the weather was too bad that you couldn't invade in D-Day.
Wow.
So, you get interesting stories from all these people.
And you also sponsor a baseball team, right?
Yeah, we sponsor 2 baseball teams. That's another way to kind of promote Americanism. We have a senior, which is 17. They're 19 and under, and the junior team is 17 and under. We've been making the playoffs, but never make it all the way.
And for those that don't know, George Steinbrenner was the famous owner of the Yankees. Do you feel like you're the Steinbrenner sometimes, having to recommend new coaches and do some things a little bit differently?
It's tough. The program is suffering a little bit statewide. We were in the Zone 4, which was very competitive. And the kids who play American League Baseball, a lot of them want to play collegiate ball because there's a lot of showcases. They were looking for Legion players. A lot of Yankees came up to my hero, Yogi Berra, played Legion ball. Mm-hmm. So did Mark Teixeira, the other, Bob Feller. So it's a good stepping stone for him.
So you obviously have a very big family now. So tell us about the family.
I had 4 sisters, no brothers. So when I got married, I had 3 daughters and no sons. But now I have 7 grandsons, 1 great-grandson, and 2 great-granddaughters. So the family has grown.
It's balanced now, too. You got a lot of males now.
Yeah, I got my boys. I have my boys. So, and Michael's the oldest, and he's a physical therapist. And let's see, then Daniel is in accounting for Eliason, Mm-hmm. So, let's see who comes. Oh, so after we get Daniel, and then we have Eric. Call him Eric the Viking. He's a good football player, but he actually, when he was in high school, he was a smart kid, but he didn't like academics. 10th grade, they put him into Abbott Tech, which is a tech school, and immediately went on the honor roll for the automotive technology. And left there, he got out of school. He got involved with a car dealership over in Mount Kisco. Went to college, the Gateway Community College. And he now works for Ingersoll, which is automotive, the biggest dealer in Danbury. He has like 3 places. They love him there, and they send him to all types of school. He's been certified as a world-class technician, which is by General Motors, and makes a lot of money.
I tell you what, your other grandkids are going to be a little jealous because you've given the Viking a lot of airtime here compared to the others.
Yeah. Then Christopher we have Christopher, he's actually, I guess I'll have to call him a cider master. He works for a farm that makes hard cider.
Okay.
He's their brewmaster.
Okay.
So, and Kyle is in marketing down in New York. And of course, Joseph is let's say he's just got into high school. His younger brother, 2 years behind. Of course, Matthew, my great-grandson, he's 4. He's fantastic. All my kids are fantastic. I love them all.
And how about the 2 daughters?
Caroline is the newest, and we have Isla is Eric's daughter.
Okay.
So,
wow. You passed the test today, too. That's impressive. So, all through life, 84 years, if you had to pick out 1 or 2 things that have always motivated you, what would you say they are?
Well, I've always been motivated. I'm a people person. I've always been motivated. I love people motivate me, and I love seeing them succeed. I do whatever I can to help them. I mean, I've working with people since I caddied when I was 12. I was working at a gas station for years and just waiting on people taking gas stations, that's when they had someone come up, pump your gas, wipe your windshield, check your oil.
You did all that.
I did all that. So, no, I've always been motivated, and in being in HR, I was more of an employee advocate than I was a tough HR guy. people always came to me with advice that helped them.
I think all of us, when we go through experiences, we learn stuff about ourselves. In your case, what have you learned about yourself over the years? That you're the same as you were when you were 11, or?
Oh, no. What I learned a lot is, you have to be self-reliant. I can't rely on people to solve my problems. And that comes probably from my mother. My mother, when I was getting ready to go out into the world, she'll say, son, when you find a thorn in your bed, you'll figure out how to get rid of it. So that's meaning she had enough confidence that I would know how to just solve my problems. You can't rely on everybody to solve your problems. You have to step up to the bar and and think it through and make a decision. If it's a wrong decision, learn from it. That's all. Go forward.
Okay. In closing, we always ask all of our guests to impart, in your case, 5 virtues, 5 pieces of wisdom, advice that has carried you through life that you'd want to share with, let's say, high school kids or other people in general.
High school kids. Well, my advice is, number 1, always respect everybody. I mean, you don't have to agree with them, but respect their opinion. You can agree to disagree. Always be helpful to someone who needs help, but don't expect any rewards from it. Thank you is enough, but you'll find out that those rewards will come tenfold by just helping others. And advice is, if you become a parent, that's the hardest job in the world. You got to do your job right. Make sure that you teach them to be polite, respectful, honest, and always try their best. That's the best, because you created a life. It's your responsibility to make sure they'll be able to succeed when you're gone. That's my philosophy, anyway.
And last question, how does faith play into your life?
Faith?
Yeah.
Well, growing up, always went to 9 o'clock mass, went to all catechisms. So that's been always a good part of it. But like on Sundays, our Sunday growing up was, you went to mass, you had a nice big dinner. It was a family day. And then you got in the car, you went somewhere. Don't even think about going out to play, because it's all for the family. True family day. So, and we've carried that all through. I mean, my faith, I think, has carried me through some tough times. I've been very active in the church. I was an usher for 50 years. I was on the St. Mary's Cemetery Committee for 10 years. Volunteered my time when they had the St. Mary's Fair. I was the maintenance guy, set up, take it down. I used to call people, volunteers, and as soon as they hear my voice on the phone, the guy would say, okay, George, what do you want me to lift now? so I had a reputation. But that's all part of giving back. I mean, you have to give back to the community and practice your faith. And so I'm still very faithful to my religion. 7:30 Mass every Sunday.
There you go. Good deal.
So, there's a higher power. I think everything, if looking back in my life, that he had some part of all these little, like just wash my hands with a guy. He said, hey, I don't think about, actually, you want to take an interview.
Opportunity.
An opportunity.
Yeah.
I think he did it.
Well, this is great. I appreciate your time today, and best of luck in your future endeavors. And God bless you and your family.
Thank you for having me, and God bless you also for the opportunities you've given me in my life. So that's it.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Another sponsored podcast by Sumis Advisory Group. Enjoy the day.
Thanks for joining us for Hot Takes with Jim Baker. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with other business leaders and entrepreneurs. To learn more about Sumis Development Group and how we help organizations enhance value, strengthen leadership, and prepare for future growth, visit sumis-inc.com. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep building something meaningful.